I'm so honored to be here because it's been a journey, and I really think this is one of the most important movements in our history right now for our families and our loved ones. And I'm going to share with you why us as trainers have the power to do something beyond what anybody else, in my opinion, can do right now. And hopefully with what I share, you can take it home and make some successful outcomes in your community. So the top is exercise is medicine in the future of healthcare. And why we believe exercise is medicine is because in the healthcare right now, obesity and disease are on the rise like never before. RX prescriptions continue to be delved out as the number one source of the solution to our healthcare problem. Healthcare costs are on the rise for hospitals, for private practices, and they're still in a flux of what to do in order to overcome why the costs continue to rise. Insurance rates are on the rise, and so are deductibles for us as consumers and patients, so healthcare is getting more expensive. Also, for those private practices, the reimbursements are declining. So the physicians are seeing people for 2 minutes and 3 minutes, and that's not healthcare. How do you learn somebody's history in 2 minutes in an exam room? It's a dangerous time in medicine. And what they're all doing is saying, if you don't get great results with bundled care and managed care, that, hey, we're going to take a knee replacement, and who can do it the cheapest? They're missing a lot of factors, but everybody's scrambling, saying, what is the solution with healthcare right now? And nobody really knows. But what we are faced with is a true obesity crisis. Right now, 1 in 2 Americans will be obese by 2020. Right now, 70% of the population is either overweight or obese. That's a staggering statistic because obesity is a preventative disease and it's the leading cause of death in the entire world right now. Overweight patients cost the healthcare system 40% more than healthy patients, and physical activity costs the gross domestic product more than $102 billion annually. And what they continue to do is produce more drugs, and it's looking by 2020 that it's almost going to be $500 billion in prescription drugs, and that's not the solution of it. So what that equals is a healthcare crisis. We cannot support the rising costs. Just like the housing market, there was well-intended professionals that saw a bubble. Many of you may have seen that movie of recently. They've seen it coming. In the healthcare, it's the same way. It's a broken system, and the bubble's going to burst eventually. But us as professionals and trainers realize that there's something that we can do to break the pattern. 90% of all chronic disease is preventable. So what do we need to do is focus on the root causes to truly change healthcare. Our bodies are breaking down, and of that preventable 90%, most of it's controllable. So when we look at our lifestyle, the extra body weight, the poor nutrition habits that we have, the sedentary population who's not moving is a big reason for that problem. If we're smoking and drinking and doing drugs in excess, it's going to have an impact on our body. Stress, physically, emotionally, and mental, all have a toll on our body that we can take proactive steps to minimize. Then we look at, in the medicine world, in the endocrinology, in the nutrient imbalances that we're faced. We can balance hormones, but if our testosterone's off in our body, or we're overweight and we have too much estrogen in our body, it's going to be very difficult to lose weight. It's going to be very difficult for our body to absorb nutrients, and it's going to lead to more and more problems. And what that looks at is, a Nobel Prize just came out 2 years ago on telomere length, and when our telomeres shrink, eventually that's when our life ends. So it's called telomeres, so it has a lot to do with genetics. There's things we can do to lengthen our telomeres. It's what they call TA65, astragalus root extract, but it's $500 a bottle. Just like stem cells is something that's having a lot of promise right there. There's a lot of politics of why it doesn't work, but not everybody can afford a $6,000 out-of-pocket procedure, just like some of these nutraceuticals. So we're having to do natural things that can help balance for the everyday patient to be healthy. And then another thing we look at is epigenetics. So it's an expression of our DNA. For instance, not only if I'm eating healthy and making poor lifestyle choices will it affect and impact my body, now we're having children, and that expression is being passed down, and how we live our daily lives is affecting our future generations. So if we want to do something to make change, then it's very important that we start controlling and understanding these preventable factors. When we look at what is uncontrollable is trauma to the tissue. If we got in a car accident, maybe it'd be preventable if we weren't on our phones texting and everything, but on the other end of it, if we were in an accident, that blunt force trauma, that's something that we can't control, the outcome and the damage of our bodies. So we look at two things in our clinic, is degeneration and regeneration. Everybody thinks we're going to naturally age as we do, and that we're just going to slowly go. And you've seen that curve that Dan had up. Naturally, it's going to curve. But there's things that we can do with exercise and taking care of ourselves that's going to reverse that scale in our favor. And those things are the lifestyle choices that we make. It's functional medicine as opposed to just prescription cover-up. It's the right nutraceuticals that we put in our body. In generation, Robin said she had 8 knee surgeries. I've had 6 of them. There's things like PRP and stem cell I wish I would have known long before that allows me to continue to play rugby, and Dr. Baumgartner continues to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. So there's more than just cortisone, and there's more than just surgery that's out there. So stem cells, nerve health, telomeres that are helping really change the scape. So most of our prescriptions right now are solely focused on treating the risk factors and symptoms of hypertension, of diabetes. Here's your metformin, and it's just a cover-up right there. And as we said, we just got to get back to the lifestyle causes of activity, exercises, diet, and looking into research and genetics and how we can improve and continue to grow. But more cover-ups are certainly not the answer. We are healers. Every one of you in this room that is training those patients probably do half than most of the medicine out there. Of course, I'm not saying that medicine is not life-saving and important and surgery necessary in a lot of instances, but there are conservative, there's middle-of-the-road treatments and things that we can do that is really going to help make a difference right there. So pain, injury, arthritis, instead of cortisone and surgery, there's a whole middle ground of conservative treatments that people can go to, not just the expensive solutions right at the end of it. And as we all know, weight loss is a booming industry. Things aren't going to change in there. Everybody's going to continue to weight loss. I've yo-yoed all my life. I'm an addict on all levels, whether it's drinking, smoking, eating, work. That's my life, sports. So I continue to try to dial in. So is everybody else in this room, probably on some level or another, going to make attempts to continue to improve their health. But a patient survey indicated that 86% of obese patients wanted to lose weight, and 62% of them felt their physician was in an ideal position to help that. This is one of the most staggering statistics that I've ever read in studies, and it's alarming. An overweight patient from 1996 to 2007 getting advice from a primary care dropped by 41%, even though obesity rates soared greater than any other history and period of time. And it's those that had the hypertension, diabetes, metabolic syndrome was even less of the focus on helping them. I don't know if the physicians thought they were just going to be non-compliant or that they couldn't help those or because they only have 5 minutes for an office visit anymore, but that's a statistic that can happen because 29 to 42% of the overweight patients did not get any of that advice. We have a pastor in our town who's a very close friend of mine, and he's changed a lot of lives. And he went to go get a sleep apnea test, wasn't sleeping well. And he went in, and in 30 seconds, they pulled him off the treadmill and said, you need to be on this CPAP machine. And we started him, we got him on our Biggest Loser program just a few weeks before that, and he came to the session really tired. And I said, well, that's encouraging that you're taking the steps to start exercising and eating better. Was the physician happy, or did he recommend that you're coming to Rejuve? And he says he didn't say anything. And to me, that shocked me. It blew my mind. Here's somebody that in 30 seconds that can't really even, is at risk of heart attack or stroke, just like that in a blink of an eye, and the physician didn't mention any exercise or nutrition. How is that possible? That's happening in every room across the nation right now where people are just getting missed right there. They took that oath to, I want to protect and heal my patients, and if we don't do something different, we're kidding ourselves that we're going to fix the healthcare problems that's out there. So patients who were counseled by their physicians were more motivated to attempt weight loss by 3 times than that patient that did not receive that advice. That's a simple measure that they can just say. So what do we have to do is start taking action. According to American Family Practice, physicians are in the ideal position to reverse the skyrocketing obesity rates because of the role that they play in healthcare. They are the #1 authoritative source in America behind the president. So the president, the doctor, which person goes into the doctor's office, and that physician looks eye to eye and says, you have diabetes and are at great risk of a heart attack and stroke, and they mean it and passionately. Not only are these medications going to save your life right now, but you need to do what you can to come off these medications because you have a family, you're loved, you're cared for. Let's take action right there. So when we look, what are we going to think is going to fix the problem? And the physicians we think are that source right there, but do we think the government's going to step in and have one healthcare plan that's going to all of a sudden fix everything right there? Do we think the pharmaceutical companies are going to come with a magic drug that's going to change everything tomorrow? Do we think the insurance companies have our best interests right there? They're all out for themselves, for the big corporate greed, the manufacturing companies right there. So there's simple things that every physician in America can do. I travel around the country and speak to physician groups on what they have to do to start fixing the problem that we're facing, and it's pretty simple to me. I don't care if they ever buy our system or do anything right there. That's just my mission and passion, but they can help every patient that walks through there. Every exam comes with a blood pressure, height, weight. All they have to do is ask exercise as a vital sign. So Mrs. Jones, on average, how many days a week do you work out? If they say no, walking 3 times a week alone around the block for 30 minutes a day can be the prevention of diabetes itself. So is that difficult for anybody? Maybe they're not able to do CrossFit or boot camps or something like that, but I think anybody can start with a walk or getting in the pool or whatever that may be. So that's a simple question that all of us can ask. On average, how many minutes during a week do you engage in physical activity? Those 2 simple questions, in my opinion, can make a huge difference in healthcare. It is time for a change. It's estimated in the next 10 years, because of where the healthcare problem is right now, that every healthcare organization in the United States and in the world is going to have a preventative measure put in place to help their patients. Otherwise, the healthcare costs are just going to continue to rise, and we can't support that same climb that we've had over the last 20 years. So which direction is healthcare going to take? This is what I call the healthcare bus. So how many of you think it's going to go left here, and how many of you think it's going to go right? Anybody think it's going to go left? Anybody think it's going to go right? This is really just to really help you guys wake up after lunch and everything. It's actually going to go right because the door's on the other side over there, if you can see right there. The answer is medical fitness. And medical fitness is not just working out, it's a plethora of different services that we can offer, all being different. And that's exercise that's medically supervised for those that are high risk or are suffering from chronic illness. It's weight optimization. It's not just weight loss, but are we adding muscle and lean tissue and focusing on fat loss? That doesn't mean just huge numbers on the scale all the time. It's nutrition services. It's hormone optimization. It's gut health. The number one key to help people lose weight in our medical facility is fix their gut. You fix their gut, you can change their nutrient absorption, you can change how they feel from stressed to fatigued, and fix a lot of different things by fixing the gut. So that was the cool thing about when I got into medical fitness. I was a passionate trainer that really believed in nutrition was the key to get people results. When I started having all these different diagnostic tests and labs that I could help my patients get better, did I really start seeing the outcomes that really helped generate a huge difference in my patients. So that's hormone optimization. That's good sleeping. I found out in January I'm suffering from Lyme's disease after 2 years of major chronic fatigue, and I just thought I worked myself in a hole and everything. And just in January, I started sleeping 8 hours a day instead of 6, and I can't tell you the impact that's had me until the last month we had our big summit, and now I've slipped again a little bit. But sleeping 8 hours a day is life-changing for anybody. And then regenerative procedures. Functional movement is medicine. Corrective exercising, FAI, that's why we partner with these guys, because they get it. Safe, progressive movements for all populations. Not only do we want to help the boomers, but it's a perfect combination for our patients that suffer from degenerative disc disease, bad knees. We have to train them appropriately and know how to do that. So in our mission, we're looking for those type of trainers that can help us meet the patients that we are. That is, in our facility, in our world, when we're helping other doctors, that's comprehensive programs that insurance does cover, depending if you're an ACA state. medically integrated program is using a doctor, a psychologist. We call them medical fitness specialists because we want them to feel a part of the team. Our physicians say, well, I can see them for 20, 30 minutes, but it's the trainer that meets with them 3 days a week. We don't have that type of mentality that, oh, they're trainers or they're naturopaths or they're chiropractors. We're all one mission together, that each person is equally valuable in getting this patient the ultimate outcomes that we're looking for together. Those patients that don't have us, our fitness program is no different than anybody else's for somebody that comes in healthy. We have boot camps. We have a CrossFit on the other side of town. We're not dogmatic in our beliefs. We just want people exercising and starting to eat the right way and then integrating them and giving them medical services that are going to help optimize their outcomes. So that can be online programs. And those of you in the online world and those that heard Josh talk, that's how you can reach the masses versus one-on-one trading your time for dollars. Breaking barriers. We have that psychology component that's very important to adjusting how our patients are thinking about habits and thinking about their own self-worth. That's an important component of our success. Then we also have memberships. So doing what we do, we are looked out as outside the box. We are medical fitness. We do the functional medicine and hormones. So the typical family practice doctor, the typical orthopedic surgeon when we're doing stem cells looks at us as the voodoo doctors of the world. So it was hard to get referrals. When I first started this program, I had to go work hard and got laughed out a lot of places in trying to bridge that medical gap with the other communities. But what they can't deny is exercise in nutrition. And what else they can't deny is the unbelievable results that we post over and over and over again. And so we were really honored last year when we won the Minnesota Innovation Award for a different healthcare model. And it wasn't from other medical doctors in community medical practices. It was consumers that said, this is different. This is changing the health of our community in Minnesota. So I want to show you a brief understanding of what it is. It's not for me to boast in any ways. We're a very humble team, but we're very honored with the award that we received last year.
Rejuve Medical came about 6 years ago. It was a time in my life where I had those crossroads. We all kind of get those opportunities, however you want to look at it. So what happened is I was working for Abbott Northwestern. I was a physician there doing sports medicine and non-surgical orthopedics. And Abbott Northwestern decided to leave town and go back to Minneapolis. And I decided to stay in town. I liked St. Cloud, and this is where my family was. So it was the opportunity for me to do something a little bit different and create a healthcare model that I think kind of fixed our broken healthcare system. I wanted to create a healthcare model that focused on disease prevention, that would focus on, as opposed to doing a surgery if it wasn't needed, or injecting cortisone or taking chronic pain medications, is there something we can do for pain and arthritis to help the body heal itself? And that's basically where we can take your own cells, whether it's blood, we make PRP, which is platelet-rich plasma, or we can do a stem cell procedure where we take a bone marrow harvest, take your stem cells, take those cells out of the body which have the potential to heal and repair, and we put those cells into the part of the body that's breaking down, whether it's knee arthritis, back pain, hip arthritis. So that was my love, was let's regenerate the body. And science was there, technology was there, it was all there to ready to be done. So with my training as a non-surgical specialist, it was right in my wheelhouse.
We've been able to take a concept that healthcare could be delivered better and actually turn it into a system. That's allowed us to grow from just a couple passionate providers and trainers to 70 employees. And when you create a system, now we can have that same success that we've had and share it with the world. We believe we've created a system that can be duplicated, that will change millions of lives in a model that is needed for our families and sustainability.
If you looked at our population, we had a lot of people that were walking around that were overweight, they're carrying extra body weight. What does extra body weight equal? It equals chronic disease. If you look at all the studies, cancer, hypertension, stroke, heart attack, it all stems from unhealthy lifestyle decisions that we're making. So I needed to bring into my model, preventive medicine, which includes exercise, eating right, healthy nutrition. That's how we're going to change healthcare. So the functional medicine side of this is let's check people why they're fatigued. Is there something going on with their hormones? Are they not taking the right nutrients? Is their vitamin D level low? Some simple things. Maximizing all of that so their energy goes from a 2 to an 8. And then I treat them, I regenerate their joints, and you get this blend of an amazing outcomes.
I think it's really important that you just have something that separates you. So if you're going to deliver health care, it's either got to be better, more cost-effective, affordable, or your delivery has to have more passion than somebody else. So consumers are going to make a decision based on your business. So you have to be able to be different and great at what you do. If you can deliver outcomes, when having a different offering, you'll capture that audience that you're trying to capture and make a difference.
I think the biggest thing I've learned is from my patients. My patients come in and they're 30, 40 pounds overweight, they've got low energy, they have no zest. 2 months later, they leave our clinic and they're singing our praises, they've lost weight, they're wearing tighter clothes, they feel amazing, they look amazing, and now they're running and hiking because their knees work again without having to do surgery or cortisone shots. And we don't give pain medications here. So I think it's the testimonies from my patients that have taught me this is the way things need to be.
So that was very cool for us in what we've done and how we were finally recognized on a bigger scale than just being felt like we weren't living up. And that was kind of embarrassing. I have the same shirt on and everything, so I hope that not everybody noticed that. So what is MedFit? It's a clinic, or it's a fitness program that fits into any clinic in the world, whether that's family practice, whether that's OBGYN, physical medicine, radiology, and you put fitness programs into any clinic that there is. That's nutrition centers, hospital, surgery centers, physical therapy, naturopaths, and I'll show you in just a little bit of what that is different than just being in its own silo. So we've really tried to do everything in our power to make a system that would change healthcare. We just started Rejuve Medical 6 years ago, and I was constantly going to the masterminds to learn to how do we market, how do we grow this and get better. And now we've started licensing it 2 years ago, and we've helped 31 other locations add this to their clinics, to where our ultimate goal is in 5 years to have 500 different locations that are all dedicated integrated medical centers that are really changing the future of healthcare. So how this all started was just about 7 years ago. I played college baseball and rugby, and I would play and I'd limp. I'd play and I'd limp, and I was a trainer at Gold's Gym while I was working on my master's degree, and I'd tried E-Stim, I'd tried physical therapy, tried everything possible so I could continue playing. I was ready to give up. And I had a patient who was diabetic and didn't want to have surgery, and he said, "Hey, this Dr. Baumgartner here in town does prolotherapy." I had it in my rotator cuff, and 3 times later, I was completely healed. I said, "That's great." And he was pretty fit, and I was training him pretty hard, and it was a great thing. So I went to Abbott Northwestern that he mentioned in that video, and it was his last day. He says, they're shutting down, and they got bought out by the CenturyCare system, so I think I'm going to go open my own practice. So if you want to join me, you can come over there if you want treatment. So I went over there. I was his first patient, and we started talking. He says, "What are you going to do when you're done with grad school?" I said, "I love the show The Biggest Loser, how the doctor tells them to lose weight, and they listen a lot better." And this is well before they were training them 14 hours a day and doing all that other stuff that gave them a worse reputation, but I loved that component that physician was saying. So that backed up and led me more authority to that. And I said, I also love if I had a couple months to where I'd work with them, because there's so many outside influences from family, peer pressure of how do we get these people to eat healthy. Because my focus in grad school was going to be sports management. If I worked for the Twins and Vikings, I was going to be happy, but I just found a love for helping people change their lives, and I knew nutrition was that vehicle. So in grad school, I started shifting, doing everything possible. How do I learn about nutrition? Because I thought that was the right way to get results with patients. So during that talk, I knew my wife was pressuring me or my fiance at that time was pressuring me to buy a house and everything. And I worked 60 hours a week at Gold's, and I was passionate, but I only made $20,000 a year. So I went and built water towers, and I came back from my wedding and saw him at the Gold's Gym parking lot, and he mentioned to me, "Hey, I'm 6 months into my practice and a little bit further along. Do you think you'd be ready to join me? I want you to come in as a concierge to help my patients, because if they have diabetes and I'm just giving them that medication, I'm covering it up. If they have degenerative disc disease and I don't get them moving and strengthened, I'm just covering it up, and I need that to help my patients." And that's where I joined with him December 27th, 2009, so 3 days before 2010, in an 80 square foot office. This is actually a 120 square foot room. I was in the room right before, but I got pretty busy, so they allowed me to move into this one. But a very simple setup right there. 2 months later, I was out grassroots efforts as hard as possible, trying to connect with everybody. I was always pretty decent at getting my clients results, so I was asking them to help us grow and everything. So I quickly got 2 trainers, and they trained out of a Snap Fitness. 10 months later, I went to that fitness business summit that Lindsay mentioned, and I learned about email marketing and how to do things a little bit differently. So quickly, 10 months later, we had 120 patients and built out a 4,000 square foot warehouse and continued to grow in email marketing. By the end of year 2, we had over 400 patients. And then we started building what our dream model is, because we were on the other end of towns. Our clinic and our gym weren't connected together, and we really wanted to be one healthcare system that combined together. So we started building our dream model in our business, and that's where the building that you've seen in there. But what we realized and what we found out is those patients that came in with the chronic pain didn't necessarily want to start exercising right away. They just wanted that injection and to go away. The patient with diabetes didn't want to start exercising and eating right away. So when we started the marketing and bringing people in, they were motivated patients. They liked this unique selling position of medically supervised, even though we weren't that different than any other gym or how I trained before. But we started putting systems in place. So we would get good at running our low barrier offers and bringing people into the medical fitness. And I do 2 things. Everybody knows the functional movement screening. If they squat or they did a hip hinge and they had pain, I really need you to see Dr. Baumgartner before we progress right there so we can get that fixed and worked out. He would either do an injection or refer them to physical therapy, and then the physical therapist would tell me the do's and don'ts of what to do. If they came in and they were stressed, fatigue, on high blood pressure or medication, I would say, let's get you to the nurse practitioner or one of the physicians so we can focus on getting you off that and putting safe and preventative measures in place. So why we grew this so fast is I was getting 30, 40 people a month, and I would get 50% of them into the clinic. And we said, wow, we're onto something here. We can't throw out an ad in the medical clinic, come get your 50% off injections. That's illegal. But what you can say is low barrier fitness offers that all these people teach on how to grow your fitness business, and it was building our clinic. So we didn't do it to be a funnel and a cash cow the way it turned into. It just naturally, that's how we get better outcomes as soon as we get them to the clinic. And then we retain people longer. They love it when Dr. Baumgartner says, great job, I'm so proud of you that you're engaged in exercising, you're making healthy habits and showing. And as we grow, we added little piece by piece, to the dietitian, to the therapist, to the health coaches that could help just continue to solidify our model. So this whole model created the growth for our facility and why we grew the way we did. And it also helped us get better outcomes for our patients. So we do have a team of physicians, to a neurosurgeon, to nurse practitioners that focus on the functional medicine, to the physical therapist, to the dietitian, to in-house pharmacy, certified trainers. And again, we believe that the medical fitness specialists are the key to our success because they have the patient hours, they have the coaching, the one-on-one that helps them start cementing some of these lifestyle behaviors into their lifestyles. So the old model of healthcare was sickness and injury and release. Our model in the new spectrum is prescribe that medical fitness, evaluate so we can do a safe and progressive program, and then focus on those lifestyle and behavioral components that helps balance that health and prevents them from ever the chronic disease that's going to occur. This is our model. We took a risk when we first started. We wanted to have a facility where people come in. We were going to have a gym front desk in a clinic front desk, but we said, no, we want people to come through. Maybe they are just coming for their medicine or for an injection. We want them to look in there and say, hey, if that person can do it, I can do it. So we took a real open aspect. When a lot of your healthcare clinics are private and HIPAA related, and we said, we got to do something different, and it panned off and it worked very well for us. We have that open model. We really want to be communicative with our patients. This is our gym facility right there. If you look in the background, Google came as we want to put this on Google Maps and give tours of there. If you look real closely, there's Chucky in the background. I don't know how that turned out on the monitor right there, so that wasn't meant to scare anybody, but Chucky scared me as a kid. So that's another look of it. And as we continue to develop, what we have right here is we created a medical and restorative program. So those patients that do come in on our low barrier offers, we'll just get them right into group training or the boot camp if they don't have any limitations, and we'll build that trust and eventually get them over to the clinic to where we can optimize their nutrients. But if they do come in with any of those risk factors right there, we recommend a 6-month to a 1-year program where they're getting medical visits along the way. And why we do that, when I first started this and before I started getting the mastermind strength coaching, I would sell 10 sessions or 24 or things like that. And I learned really quickly that that was a bad way to run a business, but I also learned that it has a dire consequence. When you're medically supervised, you're going to see some patients that really need your help. And I had a patient that had well over 100 pounds to lose, came into our facility, and she said, okay, Jer, I don't have the money, but I'll just do 10 sessions. And at first, I would take any sale that I could get. And I heard Cody say today, I was that 50% closer at first. And I said, okay, that makes sense right there. And she lost 30 pounds in her 10 sessions, which was a 1-month program right there. And then I got a message 6 months later that she died of a heart attack. And I took that really hard because I really enjoyed her company, was a great person, was a mother and everything. And that struck me hard. I took responsibility that if I was just better at selling or retaining or convincing somebody to happen, that wouldn't have happened. Well, I know I didn't physically make that happen. It's not my fault at the end of the day, but now I'm a 90% closer on those patients that come through, and I help get our staff to that level because it's not about the money or the sale. I know if somebody's not there 6 months, there's not a chance in heck that I'm going to change their life. I know if they're not making exercise a part of their life for year after year, it's there. So if you're sitting in here and you're scared of sales, you're not really going to live to the purpose that you want to do and help change lives if you don't change that mindset that you can really help people change their lives if the longer that you're with them. So it was simply a shift for me, and that changed everything in how I go about our business. So we don't sell short-term programs. We want people for life. So this is a jumbled slide that has a little bit of everything, but it's kind of just a grip of what we have. We do the health risk assessment in that first appointment that takes the health history. We do those blood labs. We do biometric measurements. If they have different, you can't do everything in one visit. If they have hormone needs, fatigued or overweight or low libido, then we will do a hormone visit. If they have that pain, we will do orthopedics. But then we're also doing metabolic testing, and then we take all these blood labs in some external biometrics to where I'll show you what it leads to in a minute, how we're different. On their fitness component, no different than any other training program. It's personal training or group training if they need it a little more affordable, which we recommend group or the boot camp or just membership there. And then we had extra value in health coaching sessions, visits with the dietitian, and then monthly group health coaching. The more groups, the larger the boot camps, the more you can leverage your time, the more affordable for it, the more support they're going to get. So that model is really important as opposed to the long-term one-on-one. Even though some of them need it out of the gate, it's good to go the other way as well. So this is how our system is different. We're not the first medical fitness system in the world. I'm a part of Medical Fitness Association and great intentions, but in a lot of hospital systems, they have the gym, and then they have the hospital and the different components. They're all working in silos, versus we created protocols that integrate these two together. So when somebody rolls their ankle in boot camp and they go over to see the clinic, Dr. Baumgartner says, congratulations on your weight loss. I'm going to get you fixed up so you can get right back at it. These systems integrate and talk to each other. But what we do and how we're different now and how we're systemized, we take those external and internal bio scores. We know what their limitations are when they have that visit, if they have cardiovascular issues, if they have a hip replacement or knee replacement. We gather that info. And then we also know, are they sedentary? Have they been working out? Do they have a history of this? And kind of like fitness ranks, we have our own levels of fitness to where we safely progress somebody. If grandma comes in on day one, it's not let's do burpees and kick her butt and let's get them sore so they can't move for the next 2 weeks. That's how when I first started training, I'm sure you've all been there, I got to give people the best workout possible and kick their butt, otherwise they ain't coming back there. Some people like that, and we have no problem kicking butts for those that want it, but it's how safe and how smart can we be in their training programs. So we have levels of fitness, and that helps with the retention program. So this is what our system is in a nutshell here. We know what their goal is, and we don't just let people come in and say, hey, I want to lose 25. We try to get down to their why. Why is this important to you? And know more so we can help them stick it out. But that internal and external scores. So when somebody comes and says, well, I just lost 5 pounds in the last month, and that's not a big deal, and we retest, we say, Mrs. Jones, yes, I know you only lost 5 pounds. I think that's a great number. To them, that's not enough right there. But you went from a 60 to a 75. You just reduced your risk of heart attack by 50%. Mrs. Jones, that's the most important thing in the world, wouldn't you agree? And you have to get them to confirm to the other important non-scale victories that are necessary. Otherwise, it's just they'll let themselves out, or they need that cop out to where, hey, this isn't working. This type of number helps change that system. That yellow belt, how do we get to black belt, is more about movement in life and being able to do stuff at 60 years old, just like you all heard today. It's not, let me come so I can be done and not live when I retirement. We want them functional and healthy and moving when they're retired. And then if they have that COPD right there, we know with their MyZones to keep their heart rate at a certain level. And that's really important to us, that when we're dealing with high-risk patients, that we do it smart and we don't hurt people. We also have a component that's an educational component. We believe education is linked to retention. Our whole system's designed to retain people. We know how hard or difficult habit change is, so it's how do we engage people. And when we grew really fast, we'd have one trainer saying carrots are good and one saying carrots are evil, and you had everybody having different opinions and different backgrounds, so we needed that consistent educational component that says, here we are. Now we can individualize and customize for each person, but it's important that we have that one message of what we're doing. When you're trying to grow and scale, if you have one person that's talking bad about your director and their training philosophy, that's how you get a broken system as you grow right there. We needed everybody on the same page, and that's what our levels of fitness is. All that together is we're focused on outcomes with our patients. So the most important factor in growing your practice is you're only as good as your team and your systems. If you're looking to grow, you need the right people. You're open up your own facility, very few people open up are profitable in the first 3 months, 6 months. It takes work, it takes grind to make a successful business. But we're all equally passionate. It's very important that you persist through what you're trying to do. But you need the right team. You need to invest in their education. You need to invest in helping them get what they want as well. Just like Cody said this morning, the first thing I said, you guys are all here missing client patient. We realize it's an investment for our patients. We have to deliver value and results and extra value in, otherwise they won't continue and do it. Ultimately, people leave for a few different reasons. Not getting results is one of the most important right there. Have to be patient-centered, have to be compassionate. You got to take the ego out of it. You got to care. Now, a lot of you ask, how do I do this? How do I go to a physician if this is something you're passionate? And these are the thought-provoking questions that I'd like you to take home and review this PowerPoint and see. This is, if I'm interested in partnering with a physician on some level, these are the questions that you have to figure out before you go approach them. The first is the patient demographics. Each market, each type of practice caters to a different demographic. We need to know what that is. Concierge or community outreach. As I mentioned, I joined Dr. Baumgartner as a concierge. So I know a very busy OGBYN practice that we partnered with, and she didn't want to grow her clinic. She had a huge following already. She didn't want to see no more patients. She wanted an ancillary revenue source to send her patients to so she could get them better outcomes and have another revenue stream. So it's different for each practice. We wanted to grow as large as we could so we can help as many people as we could. So it's a different model. Outcomes versus profitability. I partnered with doctors on very slim budgets, so they can't have all the bells and whistles first, so we got to make it profitable so they can layer piece by piece and make it successful. A big hospital system or somebody that has the revenue, they might want to add all the medically integrated tests or the right staff right out of the gate. So each one is different. Personal service and accountability, a lot of systems, and I, again, have different thoughts and opinions, but some want more of the techno gym and the computer chip. I like more of the accountability and the coaching. I think coaching is such an important element to our patient success, but to each their own. Functional or corrective exercise, you see the gym with all the equipment. Gyms are great and they help people too. I believe in the open model and the more corrective and functional training side of things. Other question, integrated, that's what our model is. It uses insurance in cash. Some are just independent, they purely want to be cash, and some just want to use insurance. There's ways to build that in either direction. We want to be more cash-based because we're tired of the insurance companies doing what they're doing. Open access or supervision, what we mean by that is you come to our facility, they're training 3 days a week, they can come the other 3 days a week and they can work out on their own with the plans that they give them. Some places, they only have the 8x10 room. We weren't open access our first year. How will your medical fitness practice fill your funnel? That's what I talked about is we'd had to design, when we get those patients, how do we integrate them to the clinic? There's two simple strategies. Same thing as we go into busy practices now, how do we have their patient base get introduced to our fitness side? And that's an easy thing to do once you set it up. We give away the university. We offer a medical fitness test drive to every one of our Dr. Baumgartner's patients and all the other physicians is an extra value add. There's no big deal on that. You don't say, hey, I need you to go sign up for a 6-week program right now. You offer value and meet people where they're at. And maybe they'll start reading those or listening to those videos, and they'll say, hey, now I've done that and started just following the meal plan and lost 20 pounds. Now I'm ready for that direction. So we have to give value, and there's ways to do that without having to be salesy. You can continue to offer value. And then service offered. Are we doing kind of like one of the initial slides? Are we doing online services, nutritional components? Do we have a supplement store or nutraceuticals? What are those services that we offer? And that matters. So all these different questions raise what this is going to cost to implement. It could be anywhere from $10,000. I've started some very lean ones to where they've been, hey, let's get patients and then continue to invest back into it, all the way up to a $500,000 one. So that's usually, we take the projections and formulas. Are we going to be doing group one-on-one? What are all of our costs, our staffing costs, and put projections in place. That way we can make smart business decisions. We can put a business plan in place and help people make sense of it financially. I've seen a lot of businesses open without a plan and what they're selling and everything, versus you can put some simple formulas in place that can help better predict success for you. So here's the 4 things that we look at. Space. Internally in an 80 square foot office, lease space like we did when we had the opportunity to grow. Half of our locations that we've started use other gyms. The Snap Fitnesses, a lot of the Anytimes, they just want memberships. We just simply pay for the membership and they allow us to come in there. 0 overhead, and that's an easy way to do it. We're in a 20,000 square foot tennis center that's the beautifulest gym I've ever seen. And they're like, should I open now? No, you should never open up. They're allowing us to come in there for $20 a membership. Let's do it all day out of this facility right there. It's a perfect scenario, so it doesn't have to be building out the facility we did. We just really wanted to be a flagship model of what healthcare could look at, and we love it. So equipment, the fitness side, we went and did some machines right there, but it's no different than the boot camp model where it's TRX bands, it's the active motion bar, it's the functional equipment in the open shell that we like best and where we now recommend our patients to do, and it saves them a lot more money. The medical equipment that we use is the metabolic tests. We do BIA testing, bioscores. You don't have to pay for a bunch of equipment to get that blood testing. You just pay per test right there, so it's relatively inexpensive. Then you have the staff that are going to run it, and we'll get into that in a second. Your cost of goods sold, just as any of you run training studios, realize it's about filling them up. You don't have to pay full-time salaries. It's like a massage therapist or a dietitian. Let's get your 20, we'll fill you up and do our best to market and grow you, and they grow into a full-time position. So it's not as costly when somebody thinks, well, I have to have a dietitian, a psychologist, how am I going to be able to afford that? No, you can do it smart and strategically, step by step. Space, anywhere from an 80 square foot space to 200 square foot space. 1,200 when you're doing large groups, I think that's the sweet spot from a revenue and profitability standpoint is 1,250 to 2,500 square foot. That way you can do boot camps, multiple groups, anything that you're doing right there, or you can use that other gym facility. Equipment, that's the functional stuff. That's what we focused on. A lot of those medical services are billable through insurance, so it's not difficult for them to get their money back really quick, but we have to determine what we're going to do to use from an online platform, whether it's MindBody or creating an app like we have so we can have that all boiled up into one systems. We help them with their budgets determine what infrastructure that they need. What we look for and where we did our webinar with FIA is our hardest part of growth is finding the right people that can go operate these facilities. The implementers have to have 4 skills. They have to be able to train very well and get results. They have to be able to do the admin side, your MindBody, your billing, your payroll and processing. They have to be able to do the consultations and network and be able to step outside their comfort zone to go do that. And then as we grow, we hire the supplemental pieces. We have to get good at leading and managing and grow from there. So you can do it very lean. And then as I mentioned, we got to put the business plan together. So the physicians are really analytical. They want to see the numbers. They want to see how it works right there. And we've got tools. So if you're ever introducing, you can have this PowerPoint. You can have the projection sheets that I have if this is of interest to you to go approach any doctors. and I'll give you all the tools that will help you do that. Why do we think this is important? Is it is creating real health that healthcare needs right now to reverse chronic disease. It's helped us make an undeniable difference in our community. We are leading the mission by changing the direction of healthcare. So because we're mission and purpose-based, our team's on fire for it. They're not employees, they love what we're doing, and our team's the only reason that we've grown the way we've done. I can't train people anymore. I had to come out of that and continue to grow and network and build this model. Only successful people that have came and really took my place and allowed me to elevate to the next level make that possible. It's easy to add to any clinical size. The good thing that the physicians know is they don't have to build it. Me, walked into that facility, and I did it for Dr. Bummer. He didn't have to spend any hours or anything like that putting it together. I helped build him that model, and that's great for him. They all want income that's not just centered around them seeing patients. Our busiest time of the year is in January. That's when clinic deductibles usually reset and can be a slower time of the year. That's where we have some of our best months of the year. So they love it. So it decreases the need for the medications. It diversifies and builds a model that's cash friendly. It is allowing us to get better outcomes. That's why we started tracking all those bioscores, so we can get the outcomes that we need with our patients that prove when healthcare is going to start saying, well, we can only go with this practice or this practice because they don't get great outcomes. We'll be able to prove that we get better outcomes than I think any other clinic does. It does create that new referrals to the system. They are the motivated population that make for much better patients, so the physicians love that, and there is a lot of synergy. They do become those lifelong patients. We do get to use medical fitness. I'm just a trainer. As soon as I was linked to a doctor, that somehow gave me a magic button in consumer's mind that allowed me to be different than any other trainer. I'm truly no different. I just had a doctor that supported what I was doing, and that helped me grow right there. So it complements any medical to increase their revenue and captures an untouched market. So we get to stay ahead of our competition, all the orthopods who are different, by being the first in our community. Now everybody in our community is trying to do what we're doing, but we're already way ahead of that in that regard. Just like the boomer industry right now, there is a perfect storm. The healthcare crisis is not going away. There's the rising costs for the physician and clinics to do more and pressure to see more. Consumers are seeking this type of care. They have the high deductibles. They want the regenerative therapies. They want the functional medicine doctors right now. So the opportunity to make a change in a booming industry is right now, in our opinion. So this is financially, if you take a look at what we've done right there, is in 2010, we grew. I wasn't really there. I was only for a few days in 2010. Is our fitness revenue was $131,000, but I referred people over to the clinic that also brought revenue into the gym. Running a business, there's going to be ups and downs. We went into new facilities. We lost insurance contracts because we started doing the stem cells. In addition to the PRP, we went into the new building. I've lost managers along the way. People move. I've had 7 trainers go open their own business. That's just what's going to happen when you elevate yourself to a certain size. All of you are going to face that at one time or another, and that was stressful for me. It was tough because I poured into all those people, but everybody wants success for themselves, so at the end of the day, that's okay. But in 2015, as you can see, we finally broke the 7-figure mark, which was important. Bedros always said in our masterminds, hey, the 7-figure studio, and that's what I want to do so bad, so I was so pumped when we cracked that 1 million mark. But if you look right here, this is when they came in for fitness, we got over $928,000 over to the clinic. So that's over half of our revenue that's directly from the medical fitness alone. But what this doesn't attribute to, Mrs. Jones comes, we get her healthy, she's telling her husband. So we think over 2/3 of it, but we can't track that. We can track if they came to the gym first and then to the clinic, but I can't track if that husband comes directly into the clinic. So we think a large part of our entire revenue is generated from medical fitness, and that's a huge difference maker in what has helped make us successful. Not just our clinical model, but medical fitness has totally changed our entire business model and where we continue to grow. So I want all of you to stand for a minute for me, and if you're just like me, which I know 90% of you are in here, is you have a dying purpose to help change lives. Can anybody raise the hand who think they have a purpose to change lives? And meet everybody, right? It's change lives. That's what we're all here to do. So help me finish this presentation by help me say, I was born to make a difference. I was born to make a difference. I was born to make a difference. Thank you. That will help me for the last few minutes right here. But I know every one of you in here are truly born to make a difference because you change lives each and every day. And that's one of the most important things for success is you have to have purpose. I know this was my calling from God, my Savior, to go and help people change lives. My other purpose is my family. Each and everything I do is for them. Just the same thing, what's important about your purpose is why you have to get each and every one of your patients to know why they're there. Because they're going to push away at 5 a.m. when it's difficult for them to not go work out. It's going to be hard saying no to the Starbucks or to the staff party and everything. If you don't know their purpose and you don't remind them of it constantly, they're going to struggle. You all have purpose. So you're going to sit with the decision to go back and take action tomorrow, or you're going to go take action right there. You're going to either be on Facebook or you're not going to be on Facebook. What is your purpose? How important to you? I know how ingrained my purpose is, and that's why I'll walk over walls to make it happen. Sports, fitness is my passion, so not everybody gets to work in their passion. We're all passionate in here. We're lucky. We're the few lucky if we learn how to monetize and make a living for our families that are important right there. You all have the ability. And persistence. It's been hard. I've darn near killed myself with stress attacks and everything right there. But my purpose drives me more than anything else in the world, so you got to make that happen right there. Because you have to be able to work harder than the other people are willing to. So give it up. Anything that is distracting you. I was that addict. I was the druggie and everything. So I was going to masterminds and missing weekends, and I realized when I got that book by Stephen Pressfield from a mentor about turning pro that I got to stop drinking and give up my amateur ways because this is that important that I go change lives and make a difference in healthcare. So I did it. It's not easy. It's not hard. I'm a true introvert. It's hard for me. I hope all of you come talk to me after because I have a hard time going and talking to people right there. So I need you to come talk to me. I need you to like me on Facebook because once you get going and I'm approached, I'll do anything I can in my power to help each and every one of you. But you have to be able to work harder. You have to get up early, 5 a.m. every single day, and you have to be driven. If not, you have great intentions. You feel you're born to make a difference, but are you going to go make that difference? And not saying you have to work 80 hours a week like I did for the first 5 years, but can you work as hard as you possibly can in 60 hours and not be distracted and better manage your time? The answer is you can. And we have to take self-responsibility. When I was a young kid, I blamed my father. I blamed the school teachers. Even when I first started in business, it was blaming, well, that employee, or it's hard to find good people and everything. No, it takes you having the hard conversation and developing it and leading them. It takes responsibility to say, you are the only one standing in your way. How are you going to make that happen? If you own it, you will make it happen. If you are a victim, you will make nothing happen in your life. Own your life and you will be successful. Don't reinvent the wheel. Everybody in here, I'm only up on this stage because of the people and connections I know. I'm only where I am on all aspects because I'm not copying it. Yes, we created our own unique system, but everything else was a system. It was done. That first $15,000 investment was the best money I ever could have spent right there because everything you're doing, somebody else has done on some level to help get you. I'm not saying not be creative and have your own unique idea, but still, you need some support and coaching to help get you there. Learn systems if you're going to scale. If you're all over the place, you don't have systems and timing when you're doing it, you're not maximizing your time, and you're not going to get as far as you can. Marketing and sales helps your family. Some of you say, I just want to train and help people. I meet so many doctors. I just want to help people make a difference. Then you better learn to sell and market, otherwise you're hopeless in being able to connect with the people that you want to do. It's the freedom to changing lives right there. Continue to educate and grow. I'm constantly learning podcasts, every opportunity I can. How do I grow right there? I can tell you, this is the first conference in my life that I've been speaking to at that I didn't not sleep the night before very well. 2 years ago, I would not sleep very well a week before, and I'm still nervous, and I have to do my little ritual and everything right there. But I know it's a necessary. If I'm going to change healthcare, I have to do the things that are going to make me be successful. Are you willing to do what it takes to make you successful? I'm uncomfortable all the time. You don't have to take the massive steps, but you better get uncomfortable if you're going to make it happen. Give, and give. Everything that I've ever done and got to where I have is because I give back to other people, and that's where you meet the connections. That's where people want to help you get to where you are right there. So you have to change the way you think. You have to be a leader. You have to have the difficult conversations, those ones that are in your stomach that are hard to have, that employee that's showing up late and everything. But how many of you have had those butterflies, but when you have that conversation, it feels 10 times better after? Anybody have that? It always feels better after. Don't hold yourself back. Become a master communicator. When they're late, say, what's going on in your life that's making you late? Well, I have this and that going on, and that's tough. You know why it's so important to our patients to not have that? What would you think is a good course of action if you can't continue to be on time? Let them answer that versus you go in a defensive mode. Good luck. If you're going to be that shouter or that pointer or that dictator, good luck building a team that wants to follow you like crazy. You have to be able to have the conversations. You have to teach your clients how to have the conversation with their husband and spouse that wants them to eat the cake and says, why are you going to go at 5 a.m.? You have to be able to teach it. If you can't do it yourself, how are you going to teach anybody else to do it? So it's important. Be a leader. Be an effective communicator. This last bullet is why I put on there and why I write my emails sometimes so I can listen to those own words. Decrease the stress in your life because it's essential. You can't go on. At the end of the day, I'm happy. I have a beautiful family. I'm living my purpose. I'm changing lives. If it all got pulled away from me tomorrow, would I still be employable? Would I still be able to find a way to eat? That answer is yes. Do I still know with my faith that it's okay? But stress is a killer. And again, I won't reach what I want to get if I stress about every little detail or get caught up when an employee gets mad or leave right there. So learn how to decrease that in your life and business. And I thank each and every one of you for making the difference you do. And I wish you the greatest success. And if I can help, please reach out to me so I can help you out. Thank you so much.